start. Stream is about to start. Are you ready for the stream to start? Stream is about to start. Are you ready for the stream to start? Stream is about to start. Are you ready for the stream to start? Stream is about to start. Are you ready for the stream to start? Stream is about to start. Are you ready for the stream to start? Stream is about to start. Are you ready for the stream to start? Stream is about to...
Am I live? Am I live? Good evening, everybody. If anyone's watching, put a comment in the comments box, and I'll pop it up on screen. And does that sound? I think that might just be because I've got chorus on the guitar. Yeah, so here we are. It's Saturday night. I couldn't do it the other night because I was looking after the cat, but it's Saturday night. Why not? So I'm going to answer a couple of questions. I'm going to give you some news. I'm going to tell you about my plans for Essen, and then I'm going to talk about Essen. And and then I'm not ranking anything. So if you've got any questions, pop them in the chat and that. If you've got any questions, because I don't have a lot of content for this evening. I got a couple of things, but I don't have a lot of content. And maybe Saturday night's not the best night for a stream. I suppose people are doing shit with family and that, aren't they? But anyway, good news. I decided to bite the bullet, and I've got an electric guitar. Look at that. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? Isn't that a beautiful instrument? It's a D'Angelico. Oh, there's my tuner. I should turn that off, shouldn't I? It's a D'Angelico Bedford guitar. I mean, not super expensive, but a very nice guitar, I think. Look at that. Beautiful, isn't it? Sort of retro off-center guitar. And if you hear, I've got chorus on it. So first things first, if anyone's watching this, or if anyone's going to subsequently watch this, on the Saturday at Essen, at 2 p.m. in the afternoon, I'm going to pull this up and see if I can get this up on the screen. Just make sure, yeah, okay. Yeah, am I sharing anything? Doesn't look like I'm sharing anything at the moment. Give me a second. There we go. So, yeah, here we have the Meet and Play event. Now this, half of it's in German, so I'll bring it up in English. So, basically what this is in one of the meeting rooms. I think it's the Europasaal, the Europa room. Yeah, it's in the Europa room. Basically, there is a thing going on where creators, like what I am, are doing a thing where they meet up with their listeners and viewers and that on the Saturday, 2 o'clock. So I did it a couple of years ago, but I didn't really plan anything. It wasn't very good, and I just sort of sat around for half an hour and then left. So this time, what I'm going to do is I am going to bring some games with me, first of all, and like sort of games that are good to play in this kind of environment. So I backed a Grail Games Kickstarter, and they had 4 games in there. There was Bottle Imp, which I'm going to write a review of soon, which is just astonishing. And then a 2-player trick taker called Tango, a 2-player game called 101, which I haven't played yet. And then a social deduction game up to 10 players called Millions of Dollars. And I've no idea what it is, but I'm going to play that there. There's Costin. If I hit that, it should come up on the screen. Yeah, how's it going? Hopefully going to meet you at Essen. And we're going to play that, and then I invited board game legend Martin Wallace along. And me and Martin, and Martin's going to demo his new party game and also, answer your questions and all of that sort of stuff. And I might see if I can get some more people there. I assume you can hear the guitar. If you can hear the mic, you can hear the guitar. Anyway, yeah. So, yeah, and let's have a look, shall we, at who is going to be there. Content Creators 2024. Let's have a look. So, let's have a look here. A lot of German creators, obviously. So, Würfel and Zucker, they own a cafe. Brettspiel blog, that's board game blog. Slicker Drips, he's English. He's a lovely lad. And then these people I don't know. There are so many. Honestly, I got into board game content creation in about 2015. And honest to God, there are so many now. I used to be able to keep up with everybody. Everybody, basically. I did my first ever board game media on a podcast called Whose Turn Is It Anyway? Which is not this one. It was a different one. It's now defunct. But Meeple University, they're very nice people. They're going to be there. Brett Ballet, they're nice. I've met them. Gaming Rules, Paul's going to be there. Very nice lad. Man vs. Meeple, I've never met those. I don't know if they're nice people or not. But, you would have heard of them. Würfel Würfer. That means dice chucker. Tantrum House, don't know them. I've heard of them, though. Fox and Bear, they're very nice. Fuchs and Bear is what it is. Fuchs, she is the judge from the Spiel des Jahres who was on my podcast. What else? Broken Meeple, he's a nice lad. Luke. Don't know any of these people. Board Game Ramblings, I don't know them, but I've watched a couple of their videos. They're good. They do very well as well. Don't know any of these people. Don't know any of these. Look at that. Ministerium für Brettspielspaß. That means Ministry for Board Game Fun. And it's the German Stadtadler, the state eagle, as a meeple. That's good, isn't it? God, there's so many. So many. This game is broken. That's Matthew. I assume it'll be Matthew and Dave. Nice lads. Ein Wolf liest Märchen. That means a wolf reads fairy tales. Or it says a wolf. It should be the wolf, I guess. Don't know any of these people. I know this lad, though. And I haven't clicked on the link, so I don't know where it goes. So should we click on the link and have a see where it goes? Oh, it just does that. Brings that up. Yeah. And I'm near the bottom because actually I was too late to register, so I sent them an email and said, would it be possible if I could register, please? And they went, yeah, all right then, just do it quickly. You know what I mean? But, yeah, so that's cool, isn't it? And so basically, the plan is that we're all going to go there and everyone's going to bomb there and we're going to play games and we're going to make loads of noise. Kevin Katowski says howdy from Shuttlecock. I don't know what that means. Yeah, and so basically, we're going to make loads of noise and be really badly behaved. And that's going to be hilarious. Anyway, so I'm going to... Howdy from Shuttlecock. I don't know what that means. What does that mean? But he's Grogu in his Kevin's Grogu. Does anyone give a shit about Grogu anymore? Does anyone give a shit about Grogu anymore? Does anyone give a shit about Star Wars anymore? I mean, Star Wars is dead. And fortunately, there's a massive... my nickname as a supporter is Shuttlecock. You see, the problem is, Kevin, is that Steve gives the nicknames. And the problem is with Steve giving the nicknames, it's not like he thinks, oh, your name's this, I'm going to connect it. He just picks a random word that he thinks sounds cool. And so they're very difficult to lodge in the brain. Anyway. Yeah, exactly. From bloody Steve. So, so that's the plan. If you're at Essen, it's the Europa Saal, 2:00. You'll see me. I'll probably have a beer. Martin will probably have a beer, and we'll have a laugh on that. And if Costin brings me a Belgian beer, I might drink the Belgian beer there. All right, I'm going to play a song on my new electric guitar. So for all those who joined late, I got a new electric guitar. Look at that. Look at that. That's beautiful. D'Angelico Premier. And I love marketing. So the cheapest guitars they have are called their Premier guitars. So I'm going to play a song. And then, I'll answer some questions. You might recognise this one, and I'm going to mess it up. But now I've got an electric guitar, I'm putting effects on it. Hang on. I'm starting again. I always forget that bit. He goes. Yeah, okay, good. I'm going to start again. Come closer and see into the trees. Find the girl while you can. Come closer and see into the dark. Just follow your eyes. Just follow your eyes. Hear her voice calling my name. Sound is deep in the dark. Hear her voice start to run into the trees, into the trees. Into the trees. Suddenly I stop, 'cause I know it's too late. I'm lost in a forest, all alone. The girl was never there, it's always the same. Keep running towards nothing, again and 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 again. There we go. The Cure. I didn't do that brilliantly, to be honest. But, you know. So, Kevin Katowski says, I happened to sit next to Uli at Gen Con when we demoed Arcs. I told him the show he does with you is good stuff. I'm glad I'm recording on Monday, so that'll be coming out Wednesday. We're getting an interesting show. I've had an interesting idea about what I want to do. Tony Bosco says, fire. Thanks, Tony. You're being nice. Yeah, I had an interesting idea. It's going to be an interesting show. I want to talk to Uli about, especially now Essen's coming, publishers' relationships with media creators. Because I cannot imagine, honestly, the amount of emails you must get as a publisher around about Essen time with people just asking for free games. Now, in the interests of disclosure, I do occasionally ask for a couple of games when I go to Essen, because I want to review them in the subsequent months. But when in my previous podcast, I used to do blanket emails, like send out 30, 40 emails asking for games, which is... I'm kind of a bit embarrassed by that now. And so I just do a few and then I review them afterwards. And I'm going to review the new one from Paolo and Nuno, which is very exciting. So I'm going to put my guitar down. Tony, I don't know if you were there, but look, I've got a new guitar. Isn't it exciting? A D'Angelico Bedford electric guitar. My first ever electric guitar. So it's very exciting. And I've realised how difficult... Not difficult, just how different it is. I was trying to do, if you can hear me, I'm away from the mic at the moment. I was trying to do electric guitar techniques like left-hand muting and stuff, bridge muting and stuff on an acoustic guitar, and I realised how difficult it was. And then I got an electric guitar, and I'm still not great at it, but it's a lot easier. Incredible stuff. All right, so I've got a couple of questions. Let's have a look. So this one is from Scott. So look here. Hang on. Before we do that. Costin says, I'm very curious about Tango. Hang on a second. It is just up here. So, Tango, I talked about it on the last stream. And this is a two-player trick-taking game. And I've played a few two-player trick-taking games, and the problem is I found with them in general is you don't feel like you play enough cards in a trick. This is a very clever one that kind of solves that problem. You end up playing 2 cards each in the trick. And you kind of... And the thing is, there are points on certain cards. So let's have a look. Yeah, so like higher cards... If you get higher cards, they're minus points in the game. Which is really clever, because they're easy to win tricks with, but if you have them at the end of the game, they're minus points. So you've got to try and work out a way to win tricks with not using the higher cards, which is really bloody clever. I really enjoyed it. I spoke to David Harding, he's Phil Walker Harding's brother, owner of Grail Games, and I sent him an email before Essen just to see he was going, and he is going to Essen. It'll be the first time we meet. He's a very nice guy. His show is on the channel. I did an interview with him, and he's a very interesting guy, and he designed Tango with someone else, and yeah, I'm really excited to have a chat with him, meet him in person. Tango is great. Highly recommend it. It'll be at Essen, and I don't think it's expensive. And also, there's the new edition of Bottle Imp. And Bottle Imp, if you've never played Bottle Imp before, it is one of the greatest trick-taking games out there. It is absolutely amazing. All right, let's get to these questions. So, Scott says, do you think the importance of Essen has any influence on game design? All one word. Is that a thing now? Is it one word now? In the sense that because of it, the German Eurogame design philosophy steers global Eurodesign to certain directions. So, it's a difficult one, isn't it? Does Essen have any influence on game design? Well, so absolutely, Essen has had influence on game design and continues to have influence on game design. And that's for a couple of reasons. So it had influence because in the 90s, when the Euro design thing hit, when, Catan, Knizia, Carcassonne, all of those Euro games came in and swept into America. So I still think in games Germany is by and large the most important design country, but America is the important cultural country. America sneezes, the rest of the world blows its nose. And so when that came into America, that influenced game design incredibly. Because, and I think this is clearly true. And I know it's interesting because it was just a play. What's interesting is it was a play on an American design. Acquire is probably the sort of fountainhead from which modern games come. Acquire is the game that these people in the 90s were talking about, trying to re-implement when they were designing these Eurogames. But it's undeniable that Eurogames were a massive leap forward in game design. Just infinitely superior to what had come before, especially in terms... Now, I'm sure there are wargamers who would say that's tosh, wargaming was incredibly innovative. And that may be true, and it really is an area of gaming I have very little knowledge about. And what I should do, I think, is maybe get a wargame designer, maybe get Mark Herman on here one day on the stream to talk about the history of wargame design. I think that would be super interesting. Yeah, I'll do that. I'll write an email to Mark. Anyway, and so these Eurogames just ran like a typhoon through gaming, and so they massively influenced game design. And by and large, because companies like Rio Grande and Mayfair were going over to Essen Spiel and signing these German Eurogames that had been a thing for 10 years, and they were going and signing these games and bringing them to a wider audience. Well, a wider audience, an American audience, essentially. And then, and you see the kind of 2000s dominated by German designers. Until 6 or 7 years ago. And then you see a lot of reiterations. And then you see the Eurogame thing really catch fire. And things like Terra Mystica and Terraforming Mars and Eclipse. And when I say 7 years ago, I'm old. So 7 years ago for me is forever ago. It's like 2005 or something. And so, and you see American designers emulating Euro design. And Essen has an influence on game design because games have an influence on game design. And Essen is the preeminent place for the new release of games. Still. Far more important than Gen Con. For the art of board games, Essen is the most important event of the year. Far more important than Gen Con. Certainly far more important than UK Games Expo or Origins. They release a couple of games at Berlin Brettspiel Con every year, and it's kind of pointless. Essen is the place. And so, do I think the importance of Essen has any influence on game design? Yes. Also, it does. So it also results in something like the Orleans Stories problem, right? And the Orleans Stories problem is that it's a terrible game that's broken and it's awful. And the reason is they rushed because they needed to get it to Essen that year, and so they didn't finish designing the game. And it was a disaster. I think it's an awful game, which is such a shame because Orleans is so great. Orleans is a masterpiece. Altiplano is pretty good. It's not bad, but it's Orleans is one of the great Eurogames out there. Altiplano is a good game. A good game. A sort of it's mid, as people say. Tony says everyone that likes these sorts of earlier Euros should go search out the OG Guild on BGG. I'm sure it's fascinating. People talking. I mean, BGG was 2000, 2001, I think, when that was really catching fire. But before games became a thing, I think what's really interesting is if you speak to people so I've interviewed loads of people in the industry, and you interview older people in their sort of late 50s, 60s, and they will talk about war games being an influence. They will talk about Catan being an influence. Really, you speak to a lot of sort of newer people, they'll talk about the thing that really got them was Tabletop by Will Wheaton, and we forget how crucial that show was to the development of games. It's fascinating stuff. And what's really interesting is I had a sort of minor health crisis at the time. And I'm not going to get too deeply into this, but tabletop is very important to me. I had a minor health crisis at the time, and I was waiting for the results of a test over the weekend. And I wasn't going to get the results until Monday. And I was very discombobulated. It was a rough couple of days. If anyone's ever been through that, it's a rough couple of days. And basically, I just sat and watched tabletop, and it just took my mind off it as much as my mind could be taken off it. And it turns out to be fine. Obviously, I'm here and everything. And so tabletop has a real sort of soft spot in my heart. I would love to get Will Wheaton on the show. I think, and tabletop, especially in the States, in the English-speaking world, really made the modern gaming. We forget there are foundational moments. There's Acquire, there's Catan, and there's tabletop. And I think in a few years' time we'll say there's Wingspan. I don't think Wingspan will ever be like Carcassonne, Ticket to Ride, or Catan, but I think Wingspan brought a lot of people into the hobby. Kevin Katowski says it's harder and harder to differentiate Euro and American styles. Most everything is a hybrid. That's really interesting because I don't think I agree. So, by the way, I always say this: put your questions in if you have any questions or have any follow-ups. These are great. These follow-ups. I sounded a bit like Trump then, didn't I? Oh, great! We've got the best follow-ups, the greatest follow-ups. I do a terrible Trump impression, and yeah. I mean, I was walking down the street today, I saw a cat, and I was like, ooh, cat sandwich. Can you imagine? Cat sandwich. Anyway, so it's harder and harder to differentiate Euro and American styles. Most everything is a hybrid. The reason I disagree, I think, is because I think most everything is a Euro game. Because Euro games are just, the mechanical innovations are just better. And you put dice and stuff in them, but I think a lot of games people call hybrid games are basically 90% Euro games and 10% dice rolling. And so something like Terra Mystica. People say Terra Mystica or the space version. Someone put it in the chat. I can't remember off the top of my head. They say that isn't a hybrid game. It isn't a hybrid game. It's a very Euro game. It just has an Ameritrash theme. I mean, that was really interesting. When I got into gaming 2011, 2012, German publishers would not do a fantasy game. A fantasy or sci-fi game. They said, these are money losers. We don't do them. We only do sort of classic Euro themes, And that's really changed. And yeah, something like Terra Mystica isn't a hybrid game. If you've got some examples of hybrid games there, just pop them in. I'd be interesting to sort of go through them and see if they are. If I think they are hybrid games. Because I think what's happened is that you've had a massive uptick of Euro mechanisms coming into games because I think they're just so good. And basically you find very few Ameritrash games now. You find very few now. It's like, so when I got into gaming, I bought Descent 2nd Edition, which I think is fabulous. And Descent 2nd Edition is a balls to the wall Ameritrash game, loads of little rules, rolling dice, all of that sort of stuff. You see fewer games like that now. Gloomhaven's a Euro game. So hopefully I'm going to get a copy of Dead Cells, which is a roguelike board game by Antoine Bowser. And I bet that's a Euro game, basically. What's the game? Ultray is a co-op game, Antoine Bowser. It's a Euro game. Yeah, so Kevin says, all I think that's left of Ameritrash is actually putting theme on Euros. Yeah. I think what was always really good about the two schools is that Ameritrash had all the themes, all the cool stuff, all the real nerd stuff. And Eurogames had all the mechanisms. They had all the foundations. And in my review of Stone Spine Architects that I put up Friday, that no one's watched, by the way, so if you haven't watched it, go and watch it. I say that the mechanisms are everything. Mechanisms are the thing. And mechanisms are the thing. And that comes from Eurogames. So much comes from Eurogames. Very few paper-thin themes. Output randomness is gone. That's what I mean by the hybrid. So, input randomness, I always forget. Roll the dice first, then make the decision. Make the decision, then roll the dice. Which is which? Because like the Euro thing is you roll the dice, then you make the decision. And the output... So I guess output randomness is you make the decision, then roll the dice to determine the result. And input randomness is you roll the dice and then make the decision. That's what I think. And obviously, it seems... I don't mind rolling dice to resolve stuff, but I think it's obvious that rolling the dice, then making the decision is better. It's just better, by and large. Although I play a lot of D&D, and D&D is exactly make the decision, roll the dice, and it's fantastic. Tony asks, just picked up Orleans. Are any of the expansions must-have? I am the wrong person to ask for this, because I am not an expansions person. I occasionally buy expansions. I don't consider any expansions for any of the games that I love must-have. People tell me that Dune Imperium, you've got to play with the expansion. I've only ever played with the expansion. So I don't know. But Orleans, I have the co-op expansion designed by the Brandts, and I think it's great, actually. Really works well, the co-op expansion for Orleans. If you want to try it as a co-op, I would recommend that. But I think the base game is just wonderful. I think that, and I'm very much I interviewed Stefan Feld once, and he said, I don't like expansions. I like to finish my games and then publish them, and I'm kind of like that. Kevin's got to run. Thank you, Kevin. Have a lovely day. Because I assume you're in America, and that's the day there. Tony says, I think it's harder to see the telltale signs of the dry Euro because everything looks so flashy now. Not sure that's good or bad. So, I almost... Bloody hell. Can people still hear me? I just knocked my mixer off the desk. Let's have a look. All right. Did a battle report, which is a free show I do on the Patreon stream about this game, Le Havre. One of my favourite games. It's an absolute masterpiece. And my podcast partner Steve was saying that they need to do another version of this where they need to rejigger the art. Because the art is classic Clemens Franz art. And people complain about Clemens Franz art now. The thing is, Clemens Franz art evokes the Eurogame for me. For me, he is the archetypal Eurogame designer. I see his art, he did Orleans, for instance. I see his art on a box, and I think this is maybe going to be something I'm going to enjoy. And I think we've got so used to art that is very flashy, and I think so much of it is generic. So much of it looks kind of like it's kidification. I don't mind having kind of art that's not the most beautiful thing. Art that evokes rather than prescribes, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. And if you play Agricola, I don't think Agricola... And I always say the mechanisms of the thing, and of course they are, but I don't think Agricola is the same game without the Clemens Franz art. I think it's wonderful. First game he ever done. Tony says drama versus decisions. That's right. That is the input randomness. I like decisions in games, but the drama is great. D&D is great. And if you haven't listened to the 5G for D&D podcast, which is released every 2 weeks, it's not coming out this Monday, it's coming out the Monday after. Wonderful stuff. Really good fun. I DM, and then I've got a group of people who just try to annoy me the whole time. It's great. And, I'd listen to it. Yeah, drama versus decisions is the big thing, isn't it? And I like decisions by and large. I'm a Eurogamer by and large, which is really weird. Because when I got into gaming, I went in through the route that is normal for an actor like me. Social deduction games. Games where you sit around a table. Although the first game I played that got me was Pandemic. And Pandemic's not a Eurogame. People call everything Eurogames. I don't think Pandemic's a Eurogame. Pandemic's its own thing. Anyway, but what was I saying? Yeah, and it was really unlikely that dry games about farming pumpkins was going to be my bloody thing, and it turns out I love them. I really think, and the thing is, bear in mind, all of this is not talking about war games now, because I know nothing about war games, and I'm sure they are I've played a few, but I'm sure they're a whole other part of the hobby that has these amazing things. It's just they're a little too rules heavy for me. Anyway, I'm going to play a song. I'm going to answer another question. If you've got any more questions, pop them in the chat and I'll answer them. Got my my new guitar. I'm going to put first guitar I bought was a fuzz pedal, and it's very much a fuzz pedal. And I kind of regret it because I realise fuzz is kind of unusable as an effect. Like, it sounds alright, but if you put anything else in it, it completely disappears. So the next pedal, I've got a pedal I'm going to get when I'm at Essen. I bought it and I got it shipped to Johnny Pax in America. I got it shipped to Johnny Pax in America. And it's a clone. So Tony asks, which kind of fuzz do I have? I have a JHS Big Cheese, which is a clone of a Love Tone... I have a JHS Cheese Ball, which is a clone of a 90s pedal called a Love Tone Big Cheese, which has 4 kinds of fuzz. 4 kinds of fuzz. One is super really gated. Tone, you can turn the drive up. But I'm getting a clone delivered to me at Essen, which is an overdrive pedal, and I think I need 3 more pedals to complete my pedal board. I need a reverb pedal to add a bit of love to my clean tone. Then I need I need my clone. Then I'm going to get another overdrive pedal, then a delay, and I think I'm done for pedals. All right. I'm going to play a song now. Need the chords. You all know this one. I was playing it the other day and I forgot how much I like it. Something got a tune, isn't it? Give me a second. Oh, G strings. Very flat. Okay. Alright, start again. Tell the kids the food, where the change Spring's here again. Reproductive glands. And he's the one who likes all our pretty songs, and he likes to sing along, and he likes to shoot his gun, but he knows not what it means. Knows not what it means when I said he's the one who likes all our pretty songs, and he likes to sing along, and he likes to shoot his gun, but he knows not what it means. Knows not what it means when I say yeah. Wrong. We can have some more. Nature is a whore. Bruises on the fruit, turns to rage and blue. Hey, he's the one who likes all our pretty songs, and he likes to sing along, and he likes to shoot his gun, but he knows not what it means. Knows not what it means when I said he's the one who likes all my pretty songs, and he likes to sing along, and he likes to shoot his gun, but he knows not what it means. Knows not what it means when I say yeah. Yeah, he's the one who likes all our pretty songs, and he likes to sing along, and he likes to shoot his gun, but he knows not what it means. Knows not what it means when I said he's the one who likes all our pretty songs, and he likes to sing along, and he likes to shoot his gun, but he knows not what it means. Knows not what it means. Knows not what it means. Knows not what it means when I say yeah. There we go. I messed that up in the middle, didn't I? It's a good tune, though. It's a good tune. So he says, fuzzies are tricky, clones are much easier to work with. Yeah. And he says you might want to check out regular distortion, but like a rat or even something like a DS1. I was thinking a DS1, to be honest. They are forgiving and easy to make sound, especially for 90s stuff. And he says, fuzz is sounding nice here. The problem is, so if I play this, and I put the fuzz on, you can hear it, right? Problem is, you get a bass guitar and drums, and it just disappears. It just disappears into the mix. So, yeah. I got a Klon, and then I might get a DS1, or I might get... I was looking at an Electro Harmonix East River something. What's it called? Electro Harmonix East River Drive, which is a kind of... I think it's a mid-gain overdrive. Sort of tube screamer sort of thing, which would be cool. Anyway, I've got one more question. I'm going to answer this, and then I'm going to watch telly. So, pop in the comments what I should watch. I've got Netflix and Prime. Tell me something I should watch. Yeah, sometimes less is more with the gain on fuzzes. Depends what you're going for. Yeah, absolutely. And I'm actually thinking if I run the Klon into the fuzz, it might give it the mid-tone that would help the fuzz cut through. I was thinking about that as well. Give me a second. So because I only have a certain space to put questions in here, I'm going to give some context and then put this up. So I got a question from someone because last week Isaac put up his designer diary for Tea and a Nog. Tea and a Nog, I believe. I think the accent on the O makes it an O, not an O. Tea and a Nog. And he put the designer diary up. And someone asked a question. He said they read the designer diary and they thought it was entertaining, and they asked this question: do they move the needle, or just for historical purposes, or are they whispers in the void? And I think they've answered their own question to some degree, but I think they're kind of all three. So I've been thinking, and the thing is I just don't have the advertising budget, but I was thinking of running adverts for the podcast on BGG. I don't have the advertising budget right now to do it, though I wouldn't mind doing it. It's just expensive to experiment with, basically, to see if it's worth it. But I see a lot of adverts for a lot of games, and I click on adverts for games when they're on Kickstarter. I think it's undeniable that advertising on BGG is useful. The designer diary, I think less so, though I think they must help. I think people see them on BGG and then go, oh, I hadn't really heard of that game. But, I mean, I like to think of myself as kind of pretty average. And so, do I click on designer diaries? Mostly not. Sometimes for games I'm interested in. Of course I clicked on Isaac's. So I don't think they're a massive contribution. You don't see designer diaries for... Oh, maybe you do. Correct me if I'm wrong. But for Awaken Realms games and stuff, you don't. And they're the most successful ones in the world. Historical purposes, I am very glad. I think it's an absolutely astonishing resource. I think BGG is an astonishing resource. I think sometimes it's kind of cool to hate on BGG because it has an old UI and all of that sort of stuff. But I think BGG is wonderful. It is still the center of the hobby. I think it's absolutely fantastic. I think what Aldi started has become this wonderful thing. I have an issue with one moderator in particular who tends to kick people off the platform who don't agree with him politically, and I think that's problematic. And I even hate using the word problematic for it, but I think BGG is wonderful, and I think one of the wonderful things are these designer diaries. I think in the future, my hope has always been for board games that they will become considered works of art in the same realm as cinema, as novels, as painting, all of that sort of stuff. I think they're incredibly deserving of it. I think they do something different from conventional narrative forms. I think they're more akin to music or visual arts. I think so. My definition of art is something, and it's a definition I use, and it's very general, but it speaks to me, and that is something that tells us something about. Oh, I'm kicking the desk. That's what's shaking. Something that tells us something about who we are as animals, as who we are as human beings. Something that speaks to us about our own experience. Abstract painting tells us so much about who we are, in that we become enraptured by things that are seemingly so alien to us. It also tells us about why abstract art is so important, I think, is it tells us about our ability to conceive outside of what we see, that there is something within our brain that exists independently of our experience, which is fascinating, right? We're able to go on logical flights of fancy and reach logical conclusions that kind of have nothing to do with the world, right? And I think games are akin to music and visual arts in that they don't tell us a story, though they do tell us a story, but they evoke something in the brain that is very difficult to describe using words. In the way that you enjoy music in a way that is kind of not describable. And that's why so much writing about music can often be unsatisfying, because you're experiencing something different. Games do this. And I write reviews of games, right? And my attitude towards this has always been the same, which is you play a game, you love it, and then when you go to review it, you have to retrofit why you loved it or you hated it onto that review. That is not you don't intellectualize why you love something instantly. You have a gut reaction. It exists in the brain at a different place to language. It's independent of language, I think. And so what you have is this super interesting unraveling why games are good and why this particular game is good is interesting, because you're translating from one language to another, I believe. And this is a long way. Christian, hi. Hopefully you'll be at Essen. You've got you've got a game out, and I think is it with your wife or something? Fascinating. Looking forward to it. Hope to see you there. Yeah, and this is a long way of saying games are art in the same way that music and paintings are art. When you look at a painting, it's often not the story of the painting. It's just I once saw the crucifixion of St. Peter in a Roman church. What's his name? I'm terrible with names. Give me a second. Of St. Peter, Caravaggio. And it really affected me. And it was straight to the gut. There was no intellectualism there. There wasn't language translating the language into feelings. It just, you saw it. And this is what games do. And anyway, this is a long way of saying I hope in the future that the games are really considered art forms. And when people go back to write definitive books, maybe me in the future, go back to write definitive books, they have this wonderful treasure trove of designer diaries that are there explaining how these wonderful things were created. And I think that's such a valuable resource that we don't really have for much else. Only really, and the medium. It's only really since DVDs that making ofs were kind of normalized. You do have notable ones, The Shining being a notable one, but making ofs being like sort of normal. And of course, Lord of the Rings really transformed what that could be. And these are wonderful treasure troves for historians later down the line. And so they are for historical purposes, whether they're intended that way when they're written. They are a wonderful resource. And I will say this, I think you should back BGG every year. I have a rolling donation to BGG every year, and I think it's wonderful. And are they whispers in the void? Unfortunately, probably. Most people don't read them. So Christian says, why are you so much more intellectual on stream compared to when you're drinking beers at Essen? You've answered your own question. I'm drinking beers. Beer dulls the brain. So, yes. Agent Avenue, designed with my wife. Christian, so we've got 3 minutes left of the stream. Pop something in the chat. Give us an elevator pitch of your game. Seeing that you're on here, Agent Avenue, give us an elevator pitch of the game so I can pitch it to the people on the stream. Go, go, go. You got like 2 minutes to do it. Yeah, so I'll wrap up by saying Monday, if you're not a patron, the patrons already have it, but if you're not a patron, there is an interview with Robin DeCleur. He is the head of PR for Essen. I like to have an interview with an Essen person just before the convention. That'll be the last chance before Essen. Spielworks Bulletin will be out next week. I film my reviews, but I've started releasing audio-only versions of them on the podcast stream. So the last one was Stone Spine Architects. That was released on Friday. I'm going to release a review of Steam Power from Martin Wallace this week, probably Friday again, both on the YouTube and on the podcast feed. And so you'll be able to listen to that. I've decided I'm going to do a video. I haven't done this, and I'm going to do a video next week of my top 5 designers. The designers I really love. And I'm going to do that next week. It's going to come out Wednesday on the YouTube channel, and I think it's going to be quite emotional because I love these games and the designers are the ones that create them. Christian says, Agent Avenue in a vibrant agent world. So Christian, I think, is quite a lot younger than me. I think Christian's a millennial. And us Gen Xers, I don't think we really grasped the emoji in the way that millennials and lower did. I mean, it's like he's. So let's have a look. Every post apart from the first one, you've got an emoji there. An emoji there. Double emoji there. Amazing. I should use emojis more. Anyway, in a Agent Avenue, in a vibrant agent world emoji. Bluffing mind games very accessible. At the Net Lab. Is that Nerd Lab? I think you typed that wrong. Nerd Lab booth at Essen. Give it a try. Smiley. Yeah, I definitely will. I will come and say hello. And I'll get you to speak into my microphone while I'm there. Anyway, so it's 10:30. I'm stuck at the smiley faces, didn't grow. I mean, they're the same thing, aren't they, basically? The thing is, if you put emojis in, Christian, because I've got this special program on my streaming software, if you put emojis in, they fly around the screen. Look, I'll show you. Look at this. Come on. Look at this. You'll see them fly across the screen in a minute. Is that magic? Isn't it magic? Isn't the internet a wonderful place? Anyway, so thank you so much for watching. 2:00 in the Europa Saal at Essen. Saturday. Martin Wallace is going to be there. We're going to look at his new party game. We're going to play some games together. We're going to have a couple of beers. We're going to make a lot of noise. We're going to piss everyone off. That's the dealie. Thank you for watching. I'll do a stream next week. I'll write an email to Mark Herman, I think, and I'm going to do a special stream. I'm going to do a special stream where we talk about war games and the history of war games. I think that would be super interesting because I know nothing about it. My podcast partner, Stephen Sirek, will be on the stream at the end of September to talk about the games he's looking forward to at Essen. So we're probably going to be here. I'm going to probably make room for him. So thank you ever so much for watching. Have the greatest of Saturdays, the loveliest of weekends, and I shall see you beautiful people next week, probably. Keep it realsies.